What is going on, everybody? My name is Northy, and today we're back with a late team coach preview. It always happens late for some reason. Every now and then we'll maybe get 2 weeks of legitimate uploads, and then, oh look, I've uploaded on a Saturday. But nonetheless, we are trying our best this week to start a new streak. We've been trying for ages. Last week was quite poor. However, this week I have done pretty much as I possibly can to make sure that we are getting a good week of Star Power's top team, and unfortunately not tips this week. I forgot to do those, but that's all good. Tips aren't really my thing. I'm not good at it, and I already would have lost at this point. But we are trying our best to find some nice players this week, and I think at the moment we're off to a good start. Obviously, 2 games have already been played. The biggest surprise of the week being Essendon beating St Kilda so far. That is the biggest surprise so far, and I don't think many people would have tipped it. I think it's a bit of a kind of shocking one, but nonetheless, very exciting. I think it was Richmond versus Carlton on the Thursday night. That was a lot of fun for the small time I watched it. I watched the second quarter, and the second quarter was non-stop action. I enjoyed it a lot. I know it's wet weather football, and not a lot of people like it, especially if you're a fan. But as a neutral, that game was so much fun to watch for that quarter, and I'm glad I did. We're going to start with the Star Powers as per usual, and a few things here and there. This week, my big change is coming in the terms of Noah Anderson now being just a normal Star Powers rather than a double up. We've decided to see how we go with Luke Parker. I'm hoping Luke Parker ends up being a good choice. The dude has been either average or really good so far this season. So hopefully with the game this week, he'll be able to find his form again. Karl Amon last week had himself a really good game, and he just remains one of our best players. He got 110 last week, averages 82, which is really good. Definitely keen on trying to see whether we can get something good from him. But also, a quick update. You guys saw my Neon Star Power Ben Cunnington that I now have. To confirm, yes, when you enter in his code or enter in a certain player's code when they're in Neon, you get every single player as a team Star Power in the Star Powers game mode. So we've got Jai Simpkin there. We go over to Classic, we'll have Todd Goldstein. Future, Taron Thomas, we've got Bontempelli, Zeeble is now a team in here, and so is Ben Cunnington here as well. I don't own any of them, but I do own the Neon Ben Cunnington, and so now I have every single one. So I would definitely keep that in mind if you are looking for players to try and get their player for cheap so you can get their team Star Power for a better price. Obviously, for some people it won't be worth it, but for example, if you wanted a Bulldogs Neon, you could grab that one, whoever it may be, like Jamogue or Hagen, if you could find one of him, pick him up, you get Smith, McRae, and Bontempelli. Obviously, Smith, not as important right now, but McRae and Bontempelli, both decent pickups. So I guess that's the positive with the Neon, you get all of them. But I'm super keen to see what this week we can do. None of these players have played so far, which is both exciting and a bit scary. I know Cripps had himself a half-decent game on the Thursday. We look here, I think he's the only one that I know of that played most recently, or one that I would have chosen. Parrish, I think, didn't play, and I don't remember. Parrish is in here anyways, but Parrish has been a bit lackluster. I think he may have been injured at some point. I don't know, but nonetheless, I'm confident with this team. I know none of them are out. I've been double-checking every single time to make sure we're all good. Port versus Sydney today, so both these teams will be on the line. That starts in about 2 hours from now that I'm recording it, but I'm super keen to see whether those two can put on a performance. I think Karl Amon's on the wing. I can't remember where Parker is. Luke Parker takes up the centre position, so that's really good. I'm really happy with the team that we've got so far. I think the biggest difference will be how Noah Anderson plays compared to Luke Parker, because I think Anderson plays consistently better than Luke Parker's average. But I think Luke Parker's peak, his ceiling, is much better than Noah Anderson's at this moment. Noah could get a lot better in the future. He is definitely young and still improving, so I'm excited to see whether Noah Anderson or Luke Parker will be the big player this week. But I've got confidence in Kelly, confidence in Bontempelli that they'll do their job. Obviously last week, poor week, dropped out of the top 10. We got to try and pick up, it looks like 18 points on number 10 to get back in there. So hopefully we can do it. We'll have to see, but I'm just hoping this team absolutely smashes it for me. If we can get a top 10 finish in Star Powers, I would be super happy, but obviously we won't know until it happens. We go to the top 4 now. This week is a very, very interesting one. I've put Jaden Short in. Now, Jaden Short had himself a good game. I think Vlosten just beat him out in terms of points. These two are like so close together in terms of like points. Vlosten and Short. They just both consistently get the same amount. Short didn't have a bad game. but I wouldn't say he's going to be the best one in there. Right now, the best one still available probably is Whitfield, but he's playing off the half forward now. He got 14 marks in his last game, so I don't imagine he does that again. Hayden Young has been getting better. He's actually starting to really show that promise that everyone was looking for when he came in through the draft, so it could be interesting there. My big risk is the midfield. I put Callum Mills in there because, as I mentioned so many times, he is either a miss or a super duper big hit. He is always on one side or the other. If we can get a 100-point game out of him, I'd be happy. He's probably the one that I'm most hopeful that he does so. Next we go to the ruck, and not confident this week with my ruck, I won't lie. Goldstein won it last week, but Goldstein is not playing, obviously. North has the bye. We don't have Gorn for a few weeks, not just the bye week, but for a few weeks. Draper played pretty poor, so I'm glad I didn't end up picking him. I did think about it. I can't remember how Nankervis played. Nankervis actually ended up having a pretty decent game. I'd say he's around the same score that he got. 84 he got last week with 16 disposals, a fair few hitouts, and a few marks and tackles, I'd imagine. He's on about the same, maybe a little less. You could see him at about 80 for the ruck this week, but that's honestly pretty good for a ruck considering how rucks have been going this year and, you know, the injuries that people have been dealt. Tim English may be one to look out for. Also, Tom DeConning. He ended up not having a too bad game himself. I think it's the disposals that are probably going to get him, but he's a big marker. He's a high flyer. He could get himself some points there. I'm interested to see whether anyone picked him up. But we've gone with Riley O'Brien because Riley O'Brien, again, is a super hit or miss. It is either he plays out of his mind with a lot of disposals, or he just looks really flat. The game that I had a while ago with him, he looked like he could barely run up the field. The dude was walking, he looked gassed every single time the ball got near him, and it ended up pretty poorly. So I'm hoping that Riley O'Brien can pull it off. I was thinking about putting Laird in with him in the top 4, but I wasn't too sure. I wasn't too sure how that went. And then we got Jeremy Cameron. Really stressed with this one. I'm not sure whether there's going to be a small forward or a forward like Bontempelli who's going to take his spot, but Geelong are playing West Coast today, and Jeremy Cameron has found himself, I believe, in full forward. Either he's full forward and Hawkins is centre half, or vice versa. So it's really going to be up to who plays better and who does more, but Jeremy Cameron seems to be more of a goal kicker, while Tom Hawkins likes to get involved on the ball a bit more. It's what I've noticed, but who knows? Jeremy Cameron or Tom Hawkins could both go really well. Obviously, last week, I don't think we went down that much. We ended up finishing 7th for the season so far, but only 322 points. Again, the aim is always 400, because if we can get to 400, it means we're at least going up, especially considering a game mode like this. You really want to get as many good games as you possibly can, because it can be the difference between you finishing in the top 10 and not. So hopefully this ends up alright. Jaden Short, after a half-decent game. Off the basic stats, I think he's got about 74 points, but add in 1%ers and he jumps up to about 80. So again, about the same. You'll see here, he's got 5 1%ers here, 5 marks, a lot of kicks. He does average a lot of kicks, but it's the interesting thing with Short. He often plays on ball, and so you definitely feel the temptation to chuck him in. But then he also doesn't necessarily do all that much afterwards. So he maybe isn't the best option for a backman in your top 4. However, in your top 18, we go over here. He's absolutely in there. Vlostone and Short, both in there. They both ended up playing well. I'm glad I picked them both up. Again, both averaged similar scores, so I'm absolutely happy with their performances. Sinclair also had a really good performance last night against Essendon, despite the result. And I think probably the best player I could have picked. The ones that I probably could have picked in replacement, Sam Doherty. I think Sam Doherty was my biggest surprise. Again, I absolutely love Sam Doherty. He's an absolute trooper, but with the way they played last week, or the way that he was playing, not where I can see him, so it wouldn't have been the greatest of picks. I can't even see Sam Doherty in the back. He may actually be a midfielder, which is kind of crazy. If Sam Doherty's a midfielder, that is kind of funny. But ended up being an unfortunate miss. I actually can't find Sam Doherty anywhere. What is going on here? Is he a forward? There's no way they chucked him in at forward. Have I just missed him really badly? I can't find Sam Doherty's name. But all I know is he's definitely a silver card, and he's definitely in this. He ended up having the best performance on the Thursday night. But so far for my forwards, I'm not too mad. Mackay looked a bit sketchy to start, but then he kicked a lot of goals really quickly and ended up having himself a pretty decent performance. Probably not as good as last week. You can see here he had 8 marks, 3 goals. In the wet weather, it definitely wasn't a marking kind of night, but he ended up putting his impact on the game. And Tom Lynch, that first half was really, really good for him, and I think ended up being a good result for us. It's going to be interesting to see which forwards end up doing better than him, but I'm hopeful that the performances from these guys will be enough, and our midfield will carry. I'm confident with our midfield. Sam Walsh with 34 disposals and I think about 7 or 8 combined marks and tackles, so that gets him pretty far up, maybe in the 90s, which is okay, but we really need some top-notch performances from these guys. I think the midfield is going to have to be the one that carries us, because so far we've gotten some decent performances from our forwards and backs. I think enough to shoot us up as far as we possibly can. A top 10 finish may be out of reach. However, I'm hopeful that these guys will be able to do enough to get us over the line. I'm not disappointed at the moment. With the first 2 games, I'm actually confident with how it's going. We don't have any players who aren't playing from what I know. Everyone is still playing. Everyone is ready to go. I double checked it all before I submitted this team. And everything looks good. I almost put Crisp in. But I ended up chucking in Sam Taylor. Sam Taylor is my surprise pick this week. Kind of just quietly been off my radar. I haven't really noticed him. And he put up 99 points, averaging 83 for the season. If he can do that for me, I'm more than happy. Averaging 80, hopefully, per player. A little bit over that if we're lucky. But we're hoping that we can up that to maybe a 90 with the rest of the performances. The backline for Geelong may be a bit Blitzarves and Stewart are backmen against West Coast. However, West Coast aren't going to have the ball in their backline the entire game. It will bounce out, so I'm hopeful that Stewart and Blitzarves will be there to kind of bounce that ball straight back in, put their impact on the game. I think if there's any game for Geelong players to smash it out, it's this one. A lot of people will probably have Tom Stewart as their backman for the top 4, but I'm not as confident in having that there. He could have a ridiculous game. They may just kick it around the back a bit to try and push that ball forward. And considering Stewart, I believe, is playing centre-half back, he'll find himself getting that ball a lot. Blitzarves likes to play ruck a bit, so he'll get involved a lot. It's mainly the forwards. The forwards I really want to do well this week. If we can get a ripper game from Heaney, if Bontempelli can have his usual, if Hawkins and Cameron can dominate against a lackluster West Coast side, then that's a perfect forward line week. I'm really happy with that. I'm pretty confident with my midfield. They usually get the job done. Took is my big surprise. I love Took Miller as a player. I love him. I think he's going to be a legend for Gold Coast. But I'm also worried because he has those performances so far this year where he kind of drops off a bit. He'll have the occasional drop-off performance. You can see here, we check his average. He averaged 101 last year. That is nuts. That is nuts for an average. But I'm hopeful that he'll be able to hit the 100 again this week. I'm actually shocked he averages 100. That's nuts on a game card. But let's hope that things end up going our way. Really exciting for this top 18. Top 4 maybe not as much. But Star Powers, I'm hopeful that things will go well. I don't know how anyone's played just yet for Star Powers, but we'll see. We go over to tips now, and obviously there's some teams that we cannot tip now. Check these. I probably, right now, I think there's a good chance I'm 0-2. Obviously, I didn't end up tipping, as I had mentioned, but I definitely would have got this wrong, and I think I probably would have ended up tipping Carlton. I'm not too sure. I believe it was at the MCG, so that may have swayed my opinion in the moment, but I'm pretty sure I would have picked Carlton. We go to Saturday games, though. We're going to try and just move past that. A lot of games today. Really excited to be watching it all. We've got ourselves Port versus Sydney at Adelaide Oval, a 2 o'clock game. This could be a lot of fun. I think my tip is going to go... Oh, Sydney is such a tough team to tip against. I'm going to go Port Adelaide. I'm going to say Port bring it home. I think Sydney absolutely could bring it home. There is absolutely no chance they are out of this game just off of the home ground. But I think Port can carry a game. Obviously, we've witnessed some pretty poor performances from Port Adelaide. The one that come to mind is prelim last year against the Dogs. But I think Port will defend home ground this time around. We go to West Coast versus Geelong. That should be a Geelong gimme. But who knows now? Who knows nowadays? I'm praying that West Coast don't find wins, because if North finish last again, I may have a meltdown. We go to GWS versus Bulldogs. Now, this could be very, very interesting. Giants, they play like a really good team sometimes, and then they play like a 15th side team, as they currently are. I think GWS have definitely had a rough season in terms of team performance, but I don't see them being completely out. I'm going to go Dogs, but Dogs have been really disappointing so far this season, and it's quite unexpected. I think this year is a bit of a down year, especially because like last year's grand final performance, It's probably on their mind so much at the moment. And I agree with the sentiment that often when teams make that climb and make it all the way to the grand final and get beat like they did, it's almost like that mental block of we made it all the way there and got absolutely destroyed, and now we have to do it again. And so they're halfway through the season, they must be feeling it. They're going to have to win a lot of games to get themselves into the top 8. But then we go to Gold Coast versus Adelaide at Metricon. Gold Coast are becoming a pretty deadly team at Metricon. They've put some teams on the brink of losses. Like Melbourne, they had pretty convincingly fought against them. They did a really, really good job. Although they didn't come away with a win, it was Melbourne. But Melbourne are showing some more signs of weakness. I'm going Gold Coast with this one. I am a Gold Coast man this year. I want to see them do well. It's going to come down to whether they show up, because they are still kind of a young side. I think they're starting to find their age, starting to find their roles, and hopefully sometime soon within the next 2 years, we see a Gold Coast Suns final squad. I really want to see a final squad of the Gold Coast Suns. I think they deserve it. So I'm going to tip them over Adelaide. But it should be a fun game on the Sunday. It's the only one, but it's a lot of young talent on that Gold Coast side that can really make it entertaining. But obviously, we see the buys here. Thankfully, North are not playing. I'm so glad I can enjoy a weekend of footy without stressing out too much. But hopefully, things end up going our way. And that's all I got. Obviously, a lot to be excited about so far. I've mentioned how some of my players are already performing. I'm kind of happy with how it's all going so far. But who knows? Someone may be laid out. Someone may get injured. Someone may just have a poor game. And there goes our entire week. So let's hope that everything goes to plan. We kind of need it to, because it's been a while. It has been a good while since things went our way. So let's hope that we can find the best results for this week. So let me know how you guys think you're going to do this week. Let me know how the first 2 games have fared on you guys. But hopefully we find our prize card streak back up and running this week. But we won't know. We won't know for a few more days. Hope you will enjoy the weekend of footy though. I'm certainly enjoying it so far. And if you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.